The Life and Health Insurance Foundation for Education is our industry's voice to the consumer, helping consumers understand the importance of life, health, disability, and long-term care insurance, and the value of the advisor in preparing a sound financial plan. Our luncheon today will highlight the Real Life Stories program and some of the other great programs Life uses to illustrate our powerful message about insurance, the people who sell it, and the people it protects. To start things off for our Life presentation, I would like to introduce a very good friend of mine and yours, the chair of Life, NAIFA Minneapolis' own Deborah Newman.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Deb.
Good afternoon, NAIFA members. I want to welcome you to Life's Real Life Stories Client Service Awards. Before we get started, I want to make sure to thank NAIFA for its ongoing leadership and support of the Life Foundation. You helped bring Life into existence 18 years ago, and your ongoing financial support has allowed us to grow into the vibrant organization we are today. Our mission is to inspire the public to take personal financial responsibilities for their family through the ownership of life insurance and related products. And you, each and every one of you, are the means to help people do just that. You are the ones that sit across the kitchen and the boardroom tables to help people put those financial plans in place. We appreciate all that you do, and we continue to support you with cutting-edge tools such as third-party marketing resources to educate people in your communities and consumer awareness campaigns that provide you with great marketing opportunities. And speaking of awareness campaigns, I'm thrilled to be talking to you during Life Insurance Awareness Month. For the campaign, Life has provided you with a range of free tools on the lifehappens.org website. One important way that we get the word out in September is with our celebrity spokesperson. This year, we're excited to have Buddy Valastro, better known as the Cake Boss, as our spokesperson. His current success belies a very tough beginning. Buddy has his own lesson of loss and life insurance. Let's watch his video.
I'm Buddy Valastro. They call me the Cake Boss. Growing up, my dream was to work with my dad to make our family bakery a household name. But on my 17th birthday, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. He died 3 weeks later with no life insurance. I had to drop out of high school to work 12 to 18-hour days just to keep the bakery going. I know life insurance would have made a huge difference. Today, I own life insurance to make sure my loved ones will always be protected.
A public service message from the nonprofit Life Foundation.
While we know and understand the impact of sharing celebrity stories with the American public, we also know the power of telling everyday stories, our real life stories. Real life stories are at the heart and soul of what we do at the Life Foundation. We tell true stories of loss and adversity and explain how smart insurance planning made a big difference for a family or business in their time of greatest need. These are stories from our colleagues and neighbors and friends, the people you see in church, at the grocery store, and at ball games. These people are not sharing their stories for the notoriety. You'll see that they are extremely personal, often heartbreaking, and certainly heart-wrenching. These people are sharing their stories so we can continue to tell them and inspire our clients to take action to protect their families and businesses. For the second year, we've published these stories in O, the Oprah magazine, which has a readership of 15 million. But the truth is, you, Each one of you help put these important stories in the hands of people who need to see them, your clients and prospects. If we really want to honor these families, we need to keep sharing and telling their stories. Today's program is also being streamed live via the web to thousands of industry professionals across the country, and I'd like to welcome them as well. So whether you're with us in Vegas or watching on the web, we thank you for being part of this very special program. So let's get started. Felipe and Lisette Montez de Oca were in the prime of their lives, the building stage. They were busy creating a home, raising 2 young sons, working and building a business. But that didn't stop them from sitting down regularly with their advisor, taking stock of the future, and putting a plan in place that would take care of the what-ifs. And for this family, the what-ifs did, in fact, become reality. Let's watch their story.
I met Felipe. I was chaperoning my sister, and he asked me to dance. And we danced all night. He was really funny, and he would make me laugh while we were dancing.
Felipe was an outgoing person. He would make friends with everyone.
Felipe was a really good father, a great husband, a very good provider, and very responsible. He knew what his responsibilities were, and he lived up to them.
Felipe was a contractor. He started on his own, working one client at a time.
When Peter approached us, he suggested that we would buy a whole life policy. And we just wanted to make sure at the time to protect our home.
Coming from another country, people don't understand the laws and the rules. And financial planning becomes more important, especially as an immigrant. They came back shortly thereafter and had a son, and as a result of that, I explained to them that they needed to increase their life insurance.
So we were constantly updating and upgrading our portfolio. We wanted to protect what we had and have more choices.
I talked to Lisette and Felipe about long-term care insurance because it provides a comfort of asset protection that they didn't need to use their retirement dollars to pay for the care.
We had gone skiing. He was not feeling well. We ended up going to Vail and the hospital. They started doing tests, and that's when they realized that he was very, very sick.
24 hours later, we knew exactly what we were dealing with, acute myelogenous leukemia. And worst case scenario at that point included having to have a stem cell transplant.
And lucky for us, his sister was a perfect match. We would wake up every day. I would look at him, and I would say, he's breathing. We have another day today.
Bone marrow kicked in, and he was given 3 more years of life.
We had purchased a long-term care policy, and that policy was, it was great.
Why we did that was to preserve the assets that they've accumulated all these years. In terms of if they had their retirement, it wasn't intended to use their retirement dollars for long-term care, to bring someone to the house to take care of them while Lisette went to work. It was a 7-day-a-week, 24 hours a day, 365 days when Felipe was ill and he had to be provided for.
That provided a great support for the care that he needed at the time.
If they had not listened to what I had proposed to them, life insurance, retirement planning, this family would be bankrupt. They wouldn't have been raised in the same house that they wanted to be raised in. They wouldn't have stayed in the same school that they were able to stay with. And who knows where they would have ended up.
He left a very good legacy, knowing that his family has the stability that he so very much wanted them to always have, whether he was here or not.
Felipe, I see him everywhere. He's everywhere. He's done so many things that he's planted so many seeds everywhere. And we always remember him as caring and funny. I knew I could always count on him for everything.
He was a provider, and he made sure that his ability to provide would stay around longer than he would.
Peter said if they hadn't listened to what I had proposed to them, the family would be bankrupt. That's very stark reality that happens to far too many people. Peter understood that reality and helped this young couple see it as well. Let's welcome to the stage our first Real Life Stories Client Service honoree, Peter Bousset.
Good afternoon. How many of you in the audience remember when you sold your very first policy? You remember it for a lot of different reasons. You realize that your career had just begun. You got a taste of the first yes instead of the first no. The very first policy I sold was to Felipe and Lisette. It felt so good because they were friends of mine. Felipe and my family have known each other since our grandparents' time in Santiago de Cuba. When we first sat down, Felipe and Lisette just started out and had a mortgage. I helped them see how life insurance could protect their family if something were to happen. And that's what we made sure of each and every time we sat down that we did a review. I would help them see what new risks they were facing, and we made sure that they were adequately covered with insurance. I don't know if you've ever had a friend die, but I have. You feel so helpless in many ways. But for me, as their advisor, I was able to help them in ways others could never help. The insurance we put in place gave them the money they needed most. Imagine what this journey would have been like for this lovely family if there had been no health insurance, no long-term care assistance, or if there was no life insurance when Felipe died. I want to ask you, do you think Felipe and Lisette would have gotten this comprehensive coverage over the internet? What I did for them mattered. And it will continue to matter for a long time, as long as Felipe Jr. and Lucas go to college. Never to forget that. What we do matters a lot to families. Now, I would like to introduce you to my friend, client, and remarkable lady, Lisette Montejo.
Good afternoon. This is such a pleasure to be here. My husband would light up a room. He had such a joy for living that couldn't help up but swept us with him. I call him the man with a million hobbies. He just wanted to do everything, try everything. And his biggest joy in life was our sons, Felipe Jr. and Lucas. There was nothing that he would love more than spending time with them and sharing new adventures. When Felipe got sick, he went through aggressive rounds of chemotherapy and ended up needing a bone marrow transplant. We were so hopeful that this would be the cure. But then the doctors told us that he had relapsed. The leukemia was back. They gave him less than a month to live and told him to go home and get his things in order. In the midst of this terrible news, instead of us worrying about himself, he said, "I'm just so glad that it's me instead of you and the boys." That was the kind of man that he was. Then Felipe did something very typical. He threw a huge party for everyone, and he said, "My family and friends are my life. And if I'm going to die, I want to see everyone around me." But Felipe always beat the odds. He went to remission again. We were able to have him with us for another 3 years after the transplant. He passed away on August 19, 2010. Through this, all we had insurance. First, a long-term care insurance, and then life insurance. I'm not sure words can express how grateful I am to Peter and the planning he helped us put in place. The insurance allowed us to spend time with Felipe instead of worrying about how we were going to pay the bills. It has given us options, and that's even the ray of light through a very dark time. Peter was one of Felipe's closest friends. They have loved each other forever. I love Peter as well, and want to thank him from the bottom of my heart for all he has helped us and our family. And I hope our story inspires you to take care of your friends and clients in the same way that Peter did. Thank you.
This next story is close to my heart because I've spent most of my career helping people protect their futures with long-term care insurance. Now I and you will have an incredible story to share with clients that doesn't just tell, it shows the power of long-term care insurance. Let's take a look at our second real-life story.
I came from Italy when I was 14 years old. I met Joe 4 years later. I met Joe in January and we were married in September.
It was great growing up, a really good family. Always a lot of fun, always food, always friends, always laughter.
My father was a self-employed excavator. He dug basements for new home construction.
My mom is also a businesswoman. We were in the clothing business. She had a clothing store and then moved to alterations.
We were looking for health insurance for his business. I responded to a card and that's how we got to know Jim.
We had an individual health insurance policy. It grew to life insurance, and as his business grew, I did a pension plan for him and his employees. And in that, I also included disability insurance for him to protect his income.
At one point, he introduced us to this long-term care insurance. The first thing that I said, well, who needs long-term care? You don't think that anything like that you would ever find use for it.
Joe was just turned 65, and most disability policies cease at 65. He's still working, but he can't get disability coverage. Long-term care coverage, even though it's not a substitute for disability, would help covering the event that he was not able to work. And that's exactly what happened.
My dad had his stroke on May 22nd of 2002.
When Joe first had the stroke, it was a nightmare.
Immediately lost his speech and the paralyzation on the one side. That was gone instantly and that never came back. Business just closed up because he just was a one-man operation with one helper.
At that time, I had a choice whether to put him in a nursing home or take him home. And my choice was to take him home. If I didn't have the long-term care insurance, I don't think I would have had that choice.
Being at home is really important for my father. I couldn't imagine how it would feel for him to be somewhere that wasn't home to him.
When my daughters and my grandchildren, they come over, he's in heaven. Joe requires care from morning until night. With long-term care, I was able to have a caregiver. It's a blessing.
Well, if they hadn't purchased the long-term care insurance, for sure they would have drained all their savings.
I presented a $150 a day benefit with a 5% compound cost of living factor. It was a 3-year benefit, but that is not a time frame as the events came about because Joe actually hit the policy limits. We had a rider called Shared Care, which basically once the pot was empty on this side, Teresa's policy kicked in. What started as a $120,000 policy limit has paid out over $400,000.
Jim made a believer out of me, so I wouldn't want to be without long-term care. So I made sure that I took out another policy.
I guess people don't really realize how important the insurance is. And without it, I just don't really know where my parents would be today.
What strikes me about this story is when Teresa says, I had a choice whether to put him in a nursing home or take him home. My choice was to take him home. Without long-term care insurance, I don't think I would have had that choice. That's what we give our clients. We don't give them a product, we give them a choice. Let's meet the advisor who helped the Melicones. Give a warm welcome to our second honoree, Jim Doust.
I have a simple work philosophy. Be honest and treat your clients just the way you want to be treated. That's what guides my days and helps me sleep at night. And I also think it's what helped the Melicones get the coverage they needed when they needed it. I told Teresa and Joe that it made sense to have long-term care insurance. I knew they didn't want to be a bother to each other or their daughters if something were to happen. And while neither one was totally convinced that they needed it, they trusted me. They said, you think we should do it, so we'll do it. It was just 6 months later that Joe had his stroke. Joe has been able to live in his home surrounded by his family since the stroke, and that would have been impossible without this valuable protection. If you aren't recommending long-term care insurance to your clients, I'd like you to ask yourself how you'd feel if a client was wiped out financially due to a devastating illness and you had done nothing to help them plan to prevent that from happening. Joe and Teresa were my second clients in the business. I've known them for over 30 years, and I probably gained a couple of pounds for each year that I've known them due to Teresa's great cooking. I am very proud to know such a strong and loving couple, and I'm honored to call them clients and close friends. I'd like to welcome Teresa Melicone to the stage.
I'll start with the hardest part first. I don't think that Joe would be alive today if it weren't for long-term care insurance that Jim helped us purchase. Joe loves his family above all else. Being able to stay in his home and be with his family has been the best medicine he could ever had. I won't say that the past 10 years have been easy. It's very difficult to see the person you love go through something like a stroke. Joe has very limited speech, but his eyes and his hands gestures say it all. He is Italian, you know. Through this, our Savior has been Jim and the long-term care that he helped us get. It has allowed us to do so many things. It has allowed Joe to stay in our home, surrounded by his family. It has allowed us to get the care he needed when he needed it. It has allowed me to continue work at what I love instead of being a caregiver. It has allowed Joe to continue to enjoy my homemade cannolis. It has allowed our daughters to remain daughters, not turn into caregivers. It has allowed his grandchildren to really get to know him and steal his motorized wheelchair to race around the house whenever he's not looking. It has allowed Joe to live, not just survive. And we owe it all to Jim. Jim is right. We weren't convinced that we needed long-term care insurance, but we trusted him. And what a good thing we did. Joe and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary last week, September the 2nd. What an amazing journey that's been. And the past 10 years of that journey have been made richer by having long-term care insurance. Here's one of our daughters, Rosanna, to help me thank Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Bridget Hunter's story is a many-layered journey that speaks of love of her husband, of her family, and the importance of the business that she and her husband built. Without life insurance, this journey, both wonderful and sad, would have had a very different ending. Let's watch the Hunter story.
Anthony was very energetic, very charismatic. It didn't matter what kind of day you were having. The second he smiled, you were smiling. Hunter Electric was Anthony's dream. He always wanted to be a business owner. Starting the business and making the business grow and become successful, he was very excited about that. Anthony worked a lot, but when he did have the opportunity to be with his kids, he was fun. He just wanted to have fun with them. He wanted to go shooting with them. He wanted to ride quads with them. He wanted the kids to have a good life. He didn't want them to ever have to struggle, and he didn't ever want them to want for anything, so he worked so they didn't have to.
I first met Anthony and Bridget in early 2009.
I was sitting in my office typing away, working as usual, and Lisa walked in and introduced herself and told me a little bit about what she did, and I said, you know, we are looking for some health insurance.
They had 7 to 8 employees, and they were wanting to protect those employees. During our assessment, we learned that we needed some term life insurance because they had some obligations that we needed certainly protected. We also determined that we wanted to put some permanent protection in place. Bridget had a real appreciation for life insurance because her first husband was killed in a tragic car accident.
When my first husband died, you know, I was younger. Obviously, I had a brand new baby and I didn't have a penny to my name. We did not have life insurance. Anthony was one who really thought he was on borrowed time. He had had melanoma when he was 19, and it was stage 4 at the time. They gave him a clean bill of health, but told him that he needed to continue to do all of his health checks.
I met with Anthony and Bridget in October of 2010 for their annual review and to take a look at their policy. At that time, we determined that it was time to go ahead and increase their coverages because he had purchased 2 additional businesses.
In late October, Anthony thought that he had a spider bite. He went to the doctor, and about 6 weeks after that, he was actually diagnosed with melanoma. It was stage 4 in his chin, and then when they did the PET scan, they found 9 tumors in his brain.
As part of their life insurance policy, we added the rider accelerated death benefit. The reason for that would be if someone were diagnosed with a terminal illness, that allows us as an insurance company to pay out the benefit at an accelerated rate.
When we got the accelerated death benefit, Anthony decided we're buying a house in Fresno. He knew exactly which house he wanted and decided, you know, we're going to tear it apart and put it back together, and if I spend one night in it, then it's my house, and that's it. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to be here for very long, so he wanted just little reminders that we did this together and that he did this for me and the kids. He lived here a month.
Just know that I love you to death. Everything I've ever done is for you. Bye, babe.
Since Anthony passed away, it's been one of the hardest years of my life. Trying to help the kids through this and also take time to get through it myself has been a challenge. If we hadn't had the life insurance, I'm not sure what would have happened. I know that I wouldn't have been able to keep the business going. I would not have been able to care for him the way I did, and I would have really regretted that. We wouldn't live here, for sure.
Today, Hunter Electric is doing well. They have their employees, they have their benefits, and more importantly, they have Bridget still striving to keep them strong.
Life insurance helped me keep the business open. My employees didn't lose their jobs, they didn't lose their medical benefits, and they were still able to support their families as well. Being able to support your family is incredibly important.
I think Bridget summed it up perfectly when she said, being able to support your family is so important. And in the case of a small business owner, that responsibility extends past your own family to your employees as well. What Lisa did for the Hunter family is so important. She not only helped them look after their own family, but looked after the business that supported them and the families of those who worked for them. Let's welcome our third honoree to the stage, Lisa Reinhardt.
The day I met Bridget started like every other workday for me. I prayed for guidance, that I would meet people that needed my assistance. That day led me to a part of town that I wouldn't normally do cold calling in. But I went in, walked into Hunter Electric and into Bridget and Anthony's lives. I did an extensive evaluation, one that I always do with small business owners. Then I relied on my team of experts to help put together a comprehensive coverage for the Hunters, both personal and for their business. The following year in July, I sat down with Bridget and Anthony again to do their annual review. They had expanded their business, and I saw that if either were to die, there would not be enough money for the other to survive or to keep the business operating. So we increased their coverages. It was Thanksgiving time that year that Anthony learned his cancer had returned. I think about that a lot. If I hadn't done the annual review, there's a strong possibility that Anthony wouldn't have been able to get the care he needed, that the employees of Hunter Electric would no longer have their jobs, and that Bridget would have a tough time starting over in our economy. Instead, the life insurance money brought them an amazing home. It also allowed them to keep the business going and keep their employees in their jobs, and that was very important to them. Bridget and Anthony were such a dynamic and loving couple. I feel honored to have worked with them and to continue my work with Bridget and her business. Just know that there are a lot of Bridget and Anthony's that need our help. And if we don't knock on their doors and ask the right questions, more families will be shattered and more companies will fail. That is our job, to prevent that. Now I'd like to introduce you to an incredibly strong and wonderful person that I'm honored to call a friend as well as a client. Please welcome Bridget Hunter to the stage.
Having had melanoma when he was younger, Anthony always felt he was on borrowed time, and so was in a hurry to do everything. That was definitely the case when we first met. We were introduced at a party, but I wasn't ready to see anyone yet. I told Anthony that I didn't want to date, but it's always great to have friends. He said, "Okay, but I'm going to change your mind." 15 minutes after the party, he called me. And I think he called me every day for the next 2 weeks trying to get me to go out with him. Finally, I agreed just to stop him from pestering me. And that was the beginning of our lives together. It's bittersweet to be here in Las Vegas. Anthony loved it here. It was also our last trip together. He was sick at the time. He'd recently had brain surgery, but he really wanted to come. During that trip, there were times when he was just too tired to even walk, but we both treasured the moments we still had together. It's been a little over a year since Anthony passed away, and it's been one of the hardest years of my life. It's been a challenge dealing with the business, trying to help the kids through this, while also taking time to get through it myself. I'm able to attend grief counseling sessions, excuse me, and those have really helped me. Speaking with others who attend, there were some men and women who didn't have life insurance or enough of it. Some were even business owners and had to close down and restructure their lives because they didn't have the protection in place. Every day when I go to work, I'm thankful that we had life insurance. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to keep Hunter Electric open. We also wouldn't have our family home. It's become our refuge, a place where we can heal as a family while surrounded by all the love that Anthony put into it. Without Lisa's help, this would not have been possible. Thank you.
For those of you in the audience who are parents, you know the moment you first told your child that your life has been altered forever. You understand at a gut level that you will move heaven and earth to make sure that your son or daughter is taken care of and has every opportunity to live a full and rewarding life. This next video certainly celebrates that bond between parent and child.
Reach, come on, mechanics, you're wheeling right through, come on.
Adam has always believed that he could do anything.
Adam was born March 10th, 1992. He was 7 weeks premature, and he was born with spina bifida.
Basically an opening in the spine. In Adam's case, it was in the lower spine. The spine doesn't completely close around the spinal cord, so it's exposed. It was very serious, the threat of him not surviving that first week.
Tried to get IVs in him, so I only saw him for a very short period of time. And then not till later that night, we were able to actually go see him, but I couldn't touch him or hold him or anything like that.
But after that first week, Sandy and I both said, he's here for a reason. And we're going to do everything in our power to get him to be the best that he can be.
Norm, at the age of 22, made the decision over lunch to acquire a whole life insurance policy. Norm had a vision that he would get married someday, that he would have a family. And when we talked about the fact that this product, in particular whole life, would give him the opportunity to build up dollars for a rainy day, for whatever might come to him, that resonated with Norm. Norm got married about 3 years after the first time I sold him life insurance. He married Sandy. I contacted Norm and suggested that we get together and set up a similar plan on Sandy's life, and they agreed to that.
I looked at it as an investment, and just like you would in a 401k, just like you would putting money in the bank.
Here they are, they're bringing their first child into the world, and their child has spina bifida.
The amount of things that you need to do to help your child get to be the best that he can be takes an awful lot more than what your health insurance covers.
I told Norm and Sandy that they could borrow against the cash values, keeping the death benefit still in force.
Our insurance did not cover his AFOs, his lower leg braces, to help him walk. He wouldn't be able to walk without those. Those came out of pocket.
I mean, we had him at 18 months of age going to a skating for the blind and handicapped. We got him into Challenger baseball. He went to therapeutic horseback riding. Mind you, that's all out-of-pocket expenses.
From the time Adam was born till Adam's age 18 or 19, they were borrowing from their life insurance, literally, I would say 100 different times. And they would come back in virtually the same way they were going out. A couple hundred here, 400 there, 500 there. My heart went out to them because I knew these were dollars that they were taking, and they were making tough decisions to put it back. By putting it back, it was there when they needed to borrow it again. At the age of 3, Adam attended a hockey game with his dad. Adam was enamored by the game.
It took us a few years to find an adaptive sport of hockey for him to play. But once he did, you know, it was like never looking back.
Oh, it was just something in me that told me this is what I want to do.
Adam was 15 when he made the USA Paralympic team, and it was a dream of his, you know, since he was young.
And then in 2010, he was 17, he turned 18, and he won a gold medal in Vancouver.
See that gold medal put around his neck? You know, it was truly the culmination of 18 years.
You know, being there with my team and, you know, having my parents there to see my first, you know, run at the Paralympics and then getting a gold medal was, you know, pretty cool.
After that first week with Adam, we had a clear vision of what we wanted Adam to be. And that was to be the best that he could be. Find something that he truly loved, had a passion for, and help him obtain it. You know, help him find the love of his life. And we did that.
I'm struck by what a perfect match there is between the Page family and their advisor. Together, they were able to put in place a permanent life insurance solution when the couple was very young, something that many, if not most, young people would just shrug off. It's also a beautiful story about the power of living benefits of life insurance. We often spend time highlighting how life insurance helps family after someone has died. This story shows the power of life insurance helping a family and a son live a full life. Let's give a warm welcome to our 4th honoree and the advisor who made this possible, Tom Waring.
Al just made that a little harder. My father taught me that a handshake is very important. Adam's handshake is very strong, extraordinarily strong. If Adam was sitting in a conference room and he shook your hand, you'd be thinking, this guy has absolutely got to be an athlete. You'd be 100% right. And then he'd reach down, grab his crutches from under the table, and you realize that this guy is an incredible athlete and an incredible human being to overcome the disability to be a gold medal winning athlete. Adam is an incredible young man, and what has helped him make him the man that he is today and the athlete that he is are his parents. I feel fortunate to have Norm and Sandy Page as clients. They understood early on about the importance of setting aside dollars today to save for tomorrow. With their whole life policies, they knew they would be covering the what-ifs in their life. I told them that they would be able to borrow against the cash value while still keeping the death benefits in force. And that was something that appealed to both of them. These policies became a financial lifeline for them as Adam grew. The Pages were able to borrow $100, $500, $700 at a time to help give Adam as normal a life as possible. And the wonderful thing about the decision that they made is that they had access to caches they needed without any strings. They didn't have to fill out a loan application. They didn't have to explain to anybody why they were borrowing the money. At a very stressful time, it was convenient and very comforting for the Pages. The Pages inspire me every day, and I hope that their story inspires you to help more clients benefit from whole life insurance. I would like to introduce my friend and client, Norm Page.
Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk about something that has made such a difference in our lives. Sandy and I knew that we would do anything to help Adam live as full a life as possible. That meant early intervention, ongoing therapy, and any kind of adaptive devices that would help Adam. It was a blessing to be able to tap into money from our whole life policies. We used that money to invest in Adam's future. And I can say that it was a lifeline for us. I truly believe that Adam wouldn't be where he is today without that life insurance money. Watching my son, whom doctors said would never walk, hear, see, or possibly live, win a gold medal for his country was the proudest moment of my life. Neither Sandy or I could have known what the what-ifs our future held. The truth is, no one knows. That's why it's so important that you continue to do what you do. Reach out to young people and help them get their financial futures in motion. The Summer Paralympic Games just ended the day before yesterday. I hope you had a chance to see or read about some of the incredible athletes and their accomplishments. The themes of the Games was inspire a generation. And that's exactly what these Paralympians do. And now I'd like to introduce you to my wife and a son, a Paralympian who continues to inspire me.
When I was young, my parents made sure I did what regular kids did. Anything I wanted to do, they found a way for me to do it and helped me live an easier, normal life. Now that I am older, I better understand just how much their whole life policies help them help me. It's given me the opportunity to play sports, to travel the world, and to compete at an international level. I'm now at Medaille College studying sports management, and I am excited about what's to come. I've seen the power of whole life insurance, and I want that future for my life as well. And that's why I've bought my own whole life insurance policy. Thank you.
We've just seen how smart insurance planning has helped families through some very difficult times, as well as to support the dreams of the future. But we also know that there is a crisis of underinsurance in our country. There are tens of millions of Americans who lack adequate life insurance. What happens to families when someone dies and there is little or no life insurance? Families suffer, businesses close their doors, children grow up before their time, dreams of the future get put on hold. At the Life Foundation, we thought it was important to put a face on this very troubling trend and to also help young adults achieve their dream of a college education. Since 2005, the Life Lesson Scholarship Program has helped hundreds of young people who have suffered the loss of a parent. The students we help are having difficulty paying for their college because their parents didn't own any life insurance or own very, very little. This year, the Life Foundation awarded 61 scholarships totaling $112,000 to deserving students. We'd like to share the story of Joanna Lopez, who was our $10,000 video scholarship winner. Let's watch her story.
Hey, Dad. I know, it's been a while, but I'm working on making you proud. Lately, I've been thinking of the good times when you were here. All the birthdays we spent together, or that Halloween I pushed my sister off the swing because I was being a brat. Or I remember when you bought us those Barbie cars, the ones that we had been begging for, even though Mom said that you were spoiling us. I remember your warm kisses and how you used to make me laugh. Or how about when my brother was born and how jealous I was because I thought I wasn't your little girl anymore. Silly me. It's been 8 years since that Sunday morning that Mom opened the door and saw 2 officers holding your key with my picture on it. I'll never forget the look on her face as they told her that you were murdered. Things have been different since you left. We left you behind and moved to Miami because Mom was scared for our safety. Now Mom has to work any job she can find. And for my 16th birthday, I dropped out of high school and picked up a full-time job to help keep food on the table. I'm sorry we haven't gone back to seeing you since we left, but we really don't have the money to visit you right now. But one day we will, I promise. Luckily, I went back to school, Dad, and now I'm entering a university that will give me the tools that I need to help others that have lost their dad too. I know you don't know that you were going to leave so soon, but on top of missing you, helping Mom out, and trying to get good grades, I have to come up with a way to pay for my tuition, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. I know that if you were here, things would be different, and I wouldn't need to work. And I probably would have never had to drop out of high school just to survive. I know you wanted to get life insurance but never got around to it. I know this isn't how you wanted things to turn out, but things will get better. I'm all grown up now, Dad. I wish you could see me shine and watch my dreams come true. I love you more than anything, and no matter how old I get, I'm still your little girl.
In her dreams, now she talks to him as if he's there from the window of a room.
How many parents would want to hear that their daughter or son had to drop out of high school just to help their family get by? It gives me a lump in my throat just thinking about the dire financial straits that her family has faced. And I applaud the courage and perseverance that this young woman has had in the face of her father's death. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Joanna Lopez.
There is a before and there is an after in my life. And the day that divides the two is the day that my father was killed 8 years ago. Since then, my mother, my sister Jennifer, my brother Johnny, and I have struggled every single day, emotionally and financially. I know my father wanted to get life insurance, but he never got around to it. I know if he could see us now, he would have done it without a moment's hesitation. If my father had had life insurance, he would have had a decent burial and a headstone, instead of us having to have a fundraiser at my school. If my dad had had life insurance, my mom, who's from Honduras and doesn't speak English well, wouldn't have had to work at a local pizza place as a cook and delivery person. She could have stayed home to take care of us as she had always done. If my dad had had life insurance, we wouldn't have been forced to live as a family of 4 in a one-room efficiency. It's basically a bedroom with a kitchenette. If my father had had life insurance, I wouldn't have had to drop out of high school at 16 to work at a car wash just to help put food on the table, because we were super ridiculously broke. In the 8 years since my father's death, we've become stronger as a family. I got my GED and an associate's degree, but my dream is to become a doctor. I was accepted into the University of Miami, but didn't know how I would be able to pay for my tuition. The Life Lessons Scholarship has helped me achieve that dream of going to college. I've just started at the University of Miami, and it feels phenomenal. I'm so excited to be there. Everything there is so amazing. Even the chairs and desks are nice. Everyone wants to help you and sets you up for success. I feel hopeful now that I can achieve my dream of becoming a doctor, and my thanks go to the Life Foundation for helping make that possible. Just know that my mom is ecstatic. I'd also like you to know that people like my father and my mother need your help. My dad didn't expect to die so soon. I'm sure if someone had sat down with him to talk about the importance of life insurance and the difference it could make, he wouldn't have thought twice about getting a policy. Thanks again to the Life Foundation for giving me a chance to make my dad proud and achieve my dreams.
I want to thank Joanna and our Real Life Story speakers for agreeing to share their stories so publicly. It takes courage to stand up here and discuss such personal and difficult moments in your life. NAIFA, the challenge is now ours. We need to honor these families by continuing to share these stories to inspire the public to take financial responsibility for their families. Thank you for what you do every day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deborah, and congratulations again to all of the Life honorees today. I just have to stop for a minute and say, when we talk about going to Washington to protect our products, these are the people that we're protecting our products for when we speak with one voice. Again, thank you.